This is Kits and Wagers. I'm Adam Zdroik, joined by AJ Scholz, stepping in for Chris Owen for Kits and Wagers this week, Premier League Game Week 9. AJ, welcome into the show. Are you ready to give some winning bets?
Of course, yeah. I haven't been on Kits and Wagers with you yet, but been doing a weekly show over on DraftKings talking about it. Been doing okay over there, so excited to bring some picks to our RotoWire show as well here.
Yeah, AJ also we did over the summer, we did group previews for the World Cup. Those will be at rotowire.com. You can find those somehow, some way. You just got to dig through 3 months of league content to get to the previews that we did for the World Cup. But so for this week, Chris is coming off a 3-0 weekend, and that's what you got to follow up with. You got to follow up with a 3-0 week for yourself. Are you confident in what you're going to provide here for us?
You know, I'll go 2-1. That I feel like
Okay.
I could give a 2-1. I'm not going to be so confident that I'll say I'll match Chris's 3-0, but I feel good about 2-1.
I think I've actually gone 2-0 in every one of our shows. I don't know. I got the record written down somewhere because I'm 14-7 on my bets. That would mean 2-1 on every show on all 7 shows. So that may be the case. We'll see. But we got a pretty big weekend coming out of the international break. We're doing this on a Wednesday, and we do have some questions with injuries. We don't have the press conferences yet. Those will be coming Thursday, Friday. So we are talking Wednesday. I don't think there will be too big of a deal. We'll go over some things once we get into the matchups. But if you're watching on YouTube or Twitter, as usual, I just have the odds report up, the cheat sheet. Just click on the fan team cheat sheet that you can have all 10 matches right here. You can see this odds report, win percentage, draw percentage, clean sheet percentage on one screen. That is incredible. I always see people on Twitter. You got random Twitter accounts that are just like, here are the 20 clean sheet percent chances for the 20 teams in the Premier League. And they just send out like these tweets that that list every team. At RotoWire, you can click on this cheat sheet and then click on the cheat sheet. You can get all of this stuff on one screen. RotoWire.com/soccer trial, free 10-day trial. But let's get into the betting here. First up, North London Derby. And this will be a fun one. As I scroll to get to the odds portion of the show here. So we got Arsenal. They are home. And if you look at the line movement, really hasn't changed. The only thing that's changed, I guess, has been Tottenham's odds to win. So currently we're at Arsenal to win is plus 100, Tottenham to win plus 270. Some reason that dropped from plus 245 earlier this morning. So pretty interesting. And then you got the draw plus 265. So what are your initial thoughts for this one, AJ?
Yeah, I mean, my first glimpse was, maybe a good opportunity to get some value out of Tottenham. They have kind of been finding their stride a little bit. They're one of the top offensive teams in the league. They've got 18 goals, 7 allowed. But and kind of digging into this further, Tottenham's record on the road this season hasn't been great. Couple of draws. They did get the win, but Nottingham Forest was the opponent there. But draws against West Ham on the road, and then also against Chelsea. So, like I said, initial thought was this might be a good Tottenham value spot in this matchup, just because I guess I would have thought it to be a little bit closer, given that these are two of the top teams in the league right now. But obviously, Tottenham's away performance has been less than stellar.
Yeah, you look at the matchup last season. I think it was I just started watching the All or Nothing on Amazon, and that's Arsenal. And I think the last episode, it's only the second episode, it goes over. I think they beat Tottenham. They beat Tottenham 3-1. I want to say. And so last season, Arsenal, they lost their first 3 matches, and then I think they beat Norwich, and then I think it was this game. So you kind of look at that results. The odds in that game are probably even, just because of how struggling, how much Arsenal was struggling. But I didn't really touch on some of these injuries before getting into it. We do have a question with Hugo Lloris for Tottenham. We haven't really seen a ton of information with that because he did not play with France over the international break. There's really right now, I checked earlier this morning. There really wasn't anything. Tottenham's kind of tight-lipped on it, so we'll see what happens with that. Otherwise, Tottenham are pretty healthy. And then with Arsenal, it seems like Zinchenko is going to be fine out of the break. Tierney had a concussion last Saturday. It seems like he's going to be fine. I think the big question is Thomas Partey. We don't know yet, really, but I mean, Arsenal were fine when Partey was out for a few matches already. So I don't think the injuries will have too big of an effect here. But I just think Arsenal at home is the way I'm going here. So getting into the bets, I got Arsenal to win plus 100, and you look at the last season's results where Arsenal home not even playing that well, still won this matchup, and as you said, Tottenham away from home. I know Tottenham had the 6 goals before the break against Leicester, but how much are you going to put into a matchup against Leicester, who have been the worst defense in the league? So I'm kind of going off that. I don't think Tottenham have been that great offensively this season. Their defense is usually pretty solid under Conte, but I just like Arsenal at home. I'm going with the win. So what do you got here, AJ?
Yeah, so kind of a similar thoughts, but a different bet outcome there. You mentioned 6 of those goals for Tottenham against Leicester. So for me, I do think draw is definitely in play, and I considered it here. But ultimately, I'm going to stay away from the win-loss column here and look at the total goals and go under 2.5 at plus 120. Really good value when you consider, like, defensively, both these teams have allowed just 7 goals each to start the season. So really, they've been both pretty solid. I'm not concerned, that the Lloris injury would, potentially open up Tottenham to allow more goals here. Fraser Forster is, certainly a quality goalie. Started 19 games for Southampton last year, so I don't think there's going to be a huge impact there in terms of their goaltending. Whether that would play in. So I think we'll see kind of a tight game, maybe a 2-0, potentially a 1-1 with a draw here. But ultimately, I wanted to stay away because I do think Tottenham still could surprise us, maybe force a draw. So I just went to the total for this matchup.
Yeah, this one's kind of tough. You do like Arsenal. You like both the defenses, really. The way they play defense, both teams open pretty solid. Arsenal's attack is a little better. I think it was 2 weeks ago. Actually, it might have been even 3 weeks ago when Arsenal played Brentford. I believe I took no on both teams to score. That one ended up working out for me, even though Arsenal got 3 goals in a 3-0 win. But I think this one is kind of tricky. I just pulled up over 2.5 goals has hit in, I think, 5 of the last 6 league matches. So I think it's just a matter of if Arsenal win, or I mean, they are playing at home. So is Arsenal going to be able to get to 2 goals, get to 3 goals, kind of a thing? I think that's kind of the main worry, I guess, with your under call, because I mean, if things get out of hand, and then you kind of want this match to be a little slower, not like up and down to where you have like Son and Kane running full speed at the Arsenal back line, kind of a thing. So
yeah.
yeah,
Correct. Just
pretty
slower
much.
pace. And we'll see. Obviously, I agree with you though. Like if Arsenal gets out to an early lead, could be trouble for this under here, as you imagine Tottenham. Maybe Richarlison comes off the bench. They go a little more attack to try and get a goal or 2 back. Could open them up on the back end there.
Mm-hmm. The other derby we got. So Sunday, this North London derby was Saturday. Sunday features a Manchester derby. I believe it's the first match of the day. There's only 2 matches on Sunday. So that would mean 7 matches Saturday, 2 Sunday, 1 on Monday. All right, there we go. Makes sense. So line movement has gone pretty much up and down. Hasn't really been any changes. We got Manchester City playing at home. They are minus 285 to win this game. Manchester United to win plus 650. You got the draw at plus 475. Over 2.5 goals is minus 225. So that means that over 3.5 goals is plus 110, which is an incredible number here. And then under 2.5 goals, plus 170. And you're not going to be wanting to take under 3.5 at minus 145. But Manchester United plus 650. Do you think they have a chance?
No, I do not. Looking at this game, right? Again, initial reactions was like, how can I get value out of Erling Haaland and scoring? At the rate he's been going, I'm almost willing to take the risk at minus 225 for the anytime goal scorer odds. And really, I'll be honest, I don't hate the idea of looking at him to score twice, which comes in at plus 200. So I do think there's some value to get there. Maybe you parlay him with something else, the minus 225, do a single game parlay on this one, try and get some value out of City, because you're definitely, at least in my opinion, you're not going to find much out of Man United here in terms of where you can get value. I think they're just too, I would be surprised if, this line would probably be a little bit closer if Man United's at home. But I would still expect City to be heavily favored in the reverse derby here. So it's just finding a way to get value out of them and out of this game.
I think, the minus 265 kind of seems like a lot. Just with the way Manchester United, I don't know. Manchester United is still a pretty hard team to read. Like, you look at their prior results. They got the 3-1 win against Arsenal, in which it was a pretty even game. You look at the possession. Arsenal had 60% possession. Manchester United still got the 3 goals, and then they also beat Liverpool 2-1. Both those games were at home, so you have to take that into account. And then, really, the Arsenal game was their last league match, and then they lost to Real Sociedad, and then they beat Sheriff in Europa League. But really, Manchester United away from home just really hasn't been the same. You look at the games against Southampton and Leicester. They played okay. It wasn't like they ran over those teams, 2 teams that are fine. They're not Manchester City. So I'm just not sure, like Eric Ten Hag, like they have their possession strategy and whatnot that he's brought to the team, and it's worked a lot. I'm not sure what their pressure strategy is going to be in this matchup. Like, is it going to work against Manchester City? How are they going to play against a team like Manchester City, who, in a lot of these matchups, 60+% possession? It's going to have to be Manchester United getting on the counter, getting guys like Antony on the counter, Jadon Sancho. It doesn't seem like Rashford or Martial will be back from injury, so it's going to be kind of the usual guys up there. Possibly Ronaldo's going to start. Probably either him or Elanga up there, but really hard to go against Manchester City at home, healthy. That's kind of what it comes down to. And minus 285 does seem like a lot, but I think both of us found some pretty reasonable bets here where you can actually get plus money and you're still back in Manchester City. So I'm going I found this bet at DraftKings. It's just Man City money line up to the 30th minute. That means if Man City are winning at the 30th minute, you win this bet. And the thing about Manchester City is that I don't have the exact numbers here, but I'm positive that they score, I don't know, in the first 10, 20 minutes more than anyone else in the league. They're awesome at scoring early in matches. I think that's going to happen. Only 30 minutes in, you get plus 120 for Man City money line. I think that's pretty good value. So let's go with that one. You're going with a little more goals for your bet, though.
Yeah, absolutely. I do like that one. We saw I think it was their last match or maybe the one before that, like Jack Grealish scored in like the first minute, right?
Yeah. That must have been Champions League, I feel like.
Yes. Yeah.
Or wait, no, was that the Wolves match? Okay, I'm mistaken. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Wolves. Right.
But so to your point, though, I think that's, they are a fast starting team, and I think that bodes well for them against United. And I think that's going to see them score a lot of goals. I was hesitant around the overall totals in this game. Just, over 3.5 felt like a lot. You're really only getting plus 110 in that one. You mentioned you're not going to take under 3.5 for minus 145. It's just kind of, there's not a lot of good spots to be in here on the overall game total. So instead, I went just Man City itself at over 2.5 goals plus 105. You figure, 3 goals, obviously a decent ask, but they've been capable of doing it multiple times this season. They've done it in 5 of their 7 matches to start the year. And the 2 times they missed that were on the road. So the fact that they're at home, feeling much more comfortable. And I am talking strictly league play. I didn't take into account their Champions League matchups for that stat. But domestically in the Premier League, 5 of 7, they've scored 3 or more, and they've done it every time at home. And I think they'll do it again in this one.
So you're an Erling Haaland guy. From Bundesliga days, you're a Bundesliga follower. Erling Haaland, 6'4". He's a robot. He's a monster. He's going to be going up against at least one of the center backs, Lisandro Martinez. I know he's had his up and down since joining Manchester United, but Martinez is 5'9". Obviously, this isn't like these guys aren't going one-on-one for a header, every second of the match. But do you think Manchester United can contain Haaland somewhat? Like, I know, obviously, Varane's back there too, but no one has been able to contain Haaland yet. Do you think, like, Erik ten Hag has spent the past 2 weeks trying to figure it out, or?
I mean, he's welcome to try. I just don't see it. His numbers at Borussia Dortmund are really, really solid. He wouldn't win the Golden Boot because he had to compete with Robert Lewandowski, but he's getting way better service now. Has a much better supporting cast than he ever did at Dortmund, and I just think he's going to be really hard to stop. And you mentioned the height difference. I'm picturing in my head. I'm not sure if you're a wrestling fan, but I'm picturing like Rey Mysterio going up against the Big Show. Like, it's just not gonna match up well here for Man United, and so I would expect. That's why I said I really don't hate the idea of taking Haaland to score twice when you can get plus 200 on that bet.
I mean, if you want to go wrestling, you could just say Andre the Giant against anyone.
Want to go a little more recent in my reference here.
Yeah, everyone knows Andre the Giant, but I don't even know if we can compare Haaland to Andre the Giant though. 7'4" for Andre the Giant. But yeah, it's we'll see what Manchester United can do. I think it'll be a fun game. I feel like at least last season, it wasn't. I don't know, the Manchester derbies weren't like, I don't know, fun, I guess. But I mean, I look back at 2 seasons ago, and Manchester United, won 2-0 in this spot, kind of somewhat surprisingly. But I mean, last season, Manchester City 6-1 combined through the 2 games. So I think it'll at least be fun to see, what Ten Hag and Guardiola do against each other in their first games. But so final match of the week, and we got these derbies. We got these the top, top 6 teams in the league. So we had to go down to the bottom of the table, and we got this Monday night thriller between Leicester City and Nottingham Forest. This one, I think I have another bet in my article, so I had to come up with 2 bets for this match. But this one will be interesting. We could have. This could be like a match where the loser of this match, the manager is fired. That's the kind of situation we're in here right now. But Leicester City minus 135 to win, Nottingham Forest plus 330, and then the draw is plus 300. And then over 2.5 goals, minus 155. Over 3.5 goals, plus 160. Under 2.5 goals, plus 120. So who's going to get fired? Brendan Rodgers for Leicester City or Steve Cooper for Nottingham Forest? Who do you think? I think these two, in terms of odds, I think these two guys are the favored to be first to be sacked right now.
Yeah, I was trying to find that real quick. I haven't gotten to it yet, but I do think you hit the nail on the head here. I mean, you almost have to if Leicester loses, you know, they're winless in 8 games. I mean, even a draw doesn't really bode well for them. But if they lose here, you know, they're in a spot where they're getting further and further cemented into the bottom of the table. I know, you know, Brendan Rodgers has been there for a long time. Obviously, has some equity with the fan base and the club, but it might be time if they lose this one. Similarly, you know, Nottingham Forest has invested a ton of money, just a ridiculous amount of money, and the only way that pays off is if they stay up. So equally, I think they could also sack their manager here if they lose. So it's going to be a tough one, you know, for whoever comes out on the losing side. Maybe they both get through for another week with a draw, but I think I almost feel as if this is a must-win match for Brendan Rodgers.
I wonder just like what the idea with these clubs just like we had the international break. Like if Leicester City lose this match, it just seems odd that it's like, okay, we had these 2 weeks where we actually had time to do something that we're gonna, if Leicester loses this match, we're gonna fire Rodgers after this, and then we have what 6 straight weeks of matches after this game. So it just seems weird that we didn't get a sacking over the national break. So I kind of wonder if maybe we're not going to get one just before the World Cup. It just seems weird that like we had this time and now we have a bunch of matches. Why do you want a new manager in the middle while you're having all these matches? So I did.
Yeah, I mean that's a really good point, honestly, that I admittedly hadn't considered, you know, but are you willing to stick around for like 6 more weeks and a
Of
huge
losing,
fixture set
of allowing 5 goals a
and then
game.
suddenly, you know, fire before the World Cup and try and find somebody? I mean, I don't know, maybe unless somebody's got like, you know, like a Roberto Martinez like pegged to like, hey, once the World Cup is over, we're gonna sack our manager. You want to take over? But
Right.
you know, I agree. I had not thought of that. It does seem strange that maybe somebody didn't pull the trigger, but it feels like you would put yourself in too much of a hole to wait another 6 weeks to do that.
Yeah, I pulled up the odds. Brendan Rodgers is basically even to be the next manager to leave his post. And then Ralph Hasenhuttl of Southampton, he's about 2-1. Steve Cooper 6-1, depending where you look. I mainly think Steve Cooper those odds are like that because like he joined Nottingham Forest last year and he brought him to promotion. So you got to give him some time. They got all these signings. So I guess it's kind of a thing where let's give him some time. He brought us here, so let's see what he can do, kind of a thing. I know some teams don't do that, but it seems like, you know, the fans like him, the club likes him, so maybe that's why his odds are like that. But in terms of this matchup, as we get back into talking about the actual game, Ndidi picked up some kind of hamstring injury, something to keep an eye on over the break. I think that's the only thing with Leicester. And then I think a big one with Forest, we got Scott McKenna. He picked up an issue also over the break, and I think he's maybe their only player that's played a full 90 or at least started every match for Nottingham Forest this season. So if he's out, I'd say that's a boost for the other team. But you know, Forest, they brought in Willie Boley from Wolves, so they still have someone. This is a weird game though. Forest, you know, they lost their matches against Fulham and Bournemouth, and Leicester just losing to everyone. You're going on one side. Give your take here. You're going with Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, I'm going to go Nottingham Forest on the double chance at plus 105. But I did seriously consider, and I might still take them on the money line at plus 330. It is a road matchup, so obviously that is the factor for why I hedged here and went double chance instead. You know, but you know, City it is really, really struggling. And as you know, we've talked about all year long that they haven't won a match yet this season. Obviously, Forest not significantly better with one win, but um, I wonder if the 2-week break kind of gave Forest a chance to kind of get some of these guys, all these new additions, on the same page. I know obviously some players left for international duty as well, but um, I would expect them to come out strong. Leicester basically just playing with the same group of guys they've had for a while. You mentioned additional injuries there, so I think Forest can win. I'm hedging with the double chance only because they're on the road and you can still get plus value on it. But I did seriously consider just taking them on the money line at plus 330.
I think it's basically a situation with Leicester. It's like, do these guys want to keep playing for Brendan Rodgers? If they do want to, if they're still motivated to actually win and get points for them, I like them to win. That's kind of what I'm coming at. But both these back lines are terrible. Leicester City are allowing goals for fun. They just allowed 6 to Tottenham. I know they are better at home, so maybe there's some worry with that. But when you combine the way Leicester have looked with the way Nottingham Forest have looked, I'm just thinking goals, over 3.5 goals, plus 165. Maybe a public kind of bet here just because of, I mean, you look at 2 of the worst defenses kind of thing. But I just think you combine 2 of the worst defenses. Leicester already played pretty attacking. We'll see if Jamie Vardy's back in the starting 11. James Madison, top player. Harvey Barnes, top player. Gibbs White, Johnson, Wanyi, Jesse Lingard, whoever starts for Forest. You got guys who can score, and you got back lines who have some issues. Going goals. You get plus 165 odds in the over 3.5. That I like it. Seems like a lot of goals. Probably is a lot of goals, but the way these teams playing, I'll take that bet. You think there's going to be goals in this match?
Yeah, I definitely think there will be. I agree. There's some question marks on the back lines here. You look at how the season has gone so far. They're both in the heavy negative for goal differential, -11 for Nottingham, -12 for Leicester. So yeah, I would expect we'll see plenty of goals from both sides. Nottingham, their road numbers is 9-1 in a -8 for them in terms of goal differential as the road team. So I like that bet. I do think we could see plenty of goals in this one.
All right, so that's the 3 games, and you aren't familiar with their team parlay, and the team parlay. It's had a rough start. This was an idea that came about early in the season. I think we decided at last minute. It's like, okay, let's do this team parlay, some fun thing where I put in a bet, you or Chris put in a bet kind of thing. Right now, the team parlay is 1-6. I'll get it out there. We haven't been great. The thing we do, the purpose is we do a minimum of plus 200 odds. And so, we got pretty much 2 even bets. And, I realized a couple weeks ago that the problem, I think my record is 2-5 in this parlay. The problem for me is that my bets are like my 8th or 9th bet of the weekend, because I also have the article and then the 3 bets in this one. So that is a problem. But, if this goes to 1-10, I might just scrap it because it's just not working out for us. But AJ, this is your first one. So give me your parlay leg here.
Yeah. So for my parlay, I'm going to look at the West Ham Wolves matchup here. We've got another bottom of the table matchup, and 2 teams that have had the most inept offenses to start the year. They have a combined 6 goals. Not a lot going on there offensively for either team. So I liked those to take no on those two teams to score. I like that straight up as a bet. It's only -110. So you're not giving up a ton of juice on that. And I think from a parlay standpoint, it's a good spot to be in because you are only giving up a little bit of juice. It lets you, gives you a lot of options to still be able to get plus money when you parlay it with something else without taking a ton of risk on it.
I like it. I agree with that one. If you read my article, it'll be up at some point in the next 24 hours. I got a different bet on this one, but I think it's going to be low scoring. Wolves matches are always low scoring. They'll probably go 1-0 either way, 1-1 if anything. Just that Wolves seem to have trouble scoring against anyone, any season. That's just how it is. Raul Jimenez isn't healthy yet. We'll probably see a front line with like Geddes, Neto, and Podence. But then you got West Ham, who they added some pieces. They haven't really figured things out yet. You know, they're getting goals in I think they're in Europa Conference League. They're getting goals there, but it's just not working out for them right now. Maybe that'll change at some point, but I don't think it's changed against Wolverhampton. So my bet, it took some time with this one. I'm going yes on both teams to score between Fulham and Newcastle. Uh, so this one, there are questions. You got Bruno in the midfield. We'll see if he starts coming out of the break. I think my main worry here is if Callum Wilson doesn't start, we don't know who Newcastle are going to start at striker because Chris Wood I think he has a broken rib maybe. Isak is out for him, so we don't know that situation. I don't think Callum Wilson's ready for a full 90, but I think Newcastle, they still have the guys. They still will figure out a way to get a goal because Fulham, their backline has been okay. They've had some hit and miss moments, and then on the other side of that, I know Newcastle plays solid defense, but away from home, it hasn't really shown up this season. And then Mitrovic always seems to get his head on something, always there in front of net. So I'll just go yes on both teams to score. That one's minus 150, but put those together, you got plus 218 odds. Is that going to hit, AJ? Is it going to hit? Come on.
Oh, I don't love the yes on both teams to score without knowing the status of Callum Wilson, man. Yeah, but
Well, he's
uh,
healthy. We just don't know if he's going to start.
yeah, yeah.
He'll play. He'll
Um,
play 30 minutes minimum. We'll say.
all right, all right. I'll give it a yes. And it's I would maybe add to that maybe separately take like once he's confirmed to start, take like Callum Wilson to score because you're going to need that one to happen, I think, almost for that parlay to hit. If we want to get real crazy here, I just threw this in there. We're talking about no on both teams to score for West Ham and Wolves. We could parlay up the exact score for West Ham Wolves of 0-0 with your yes on both the score, Fulham and Newcastle. That's going to come in at plus 1733 here. So you can really cash in big on that one because I don't think 0-0 in that West Ham Wolves game seems like a distinct possibility. Look, again, we go maybe a little bit conservative, maybe go with the safer plays. At least I do when I'm picking stuff. But when I'm maybe thinking a little bit longer, looking a little bit deeper, plus 1700 looks real good for a game that certainly could end 0-0.
I didn't mention this before, but Nathan Collins is suspended, so we do have possibly Toti Gomez starting at center back. We'll see who Wolverhampton actually start back there. Is that worrying to you that they're on their second string center back here, backup center back?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that is something that something of a concern there. Um, yeah, I guess I hadn't thought about that either. You mentioned West Ham's been scoring a little bit more in European competition, but um, I still stick with it. I'm still solidly in that no camp for both teams to score. It just hasn't been happening in the Premier League. I don't think this is the week it happens either.
Yeah, I don't know. It looks like a glitch in our systems. The Nathan Collins suspension isn't even popping up, even though he is marked as suspended. So that one is. We'll leave that one to tech. But that's all we got here. Some final thoughts. We got any final thoughts on these? The rest of the matches. It looks like it's going to be a low scoring weekend. We have one match with an implied goal total above 3, and that's the Manchester derby there. I was looking at for this parlay. I was trying to go with like maybe a Liverpool corner bet or Liverpool minus 1.5 because we're getting Brighton with their new manager, and I'm still not sold on what we'll see from him. So that one's That one's kind of iffy. I think we both like Everton. I did throw that in my article. My other consideration was yes on both teams to score for Bournemouth and Brentford. I think you can get a little better odds in that one. But any final thoughts for the slate here? You are an Everton man. Do you think they're going to beat Southampton?
I do. I mean, I feel really confident the win we had going into the break, and then potential to get Dominic Calvert-Lewin coming back. So I seriously considered throwing that in there. I didn't want to homer play it, so I opted to keep that one out and look for something else. But I do like the value you can get on Everton to win. You can get decent value on the double chance as well if you don't want to go all the way on the win since they're on the road here. But so yeah, Everton, win or draw on the double chance is got decent value as well there.
Yeah, so that team parlay again, I took yes on both Fulham and Newcastle to score. That's minus 150. AJ took West Ham, Wolverhampton, no on both to score minus 110. So that's plus 218 odds. If you did not hear anything correctly, just if you're listening on a podcast, just go to YouTube, go to our Twitter, RotoWire Soccer, find that. These are all graphics. You can look at them. They're up. But yeah, AJ, thanks for stepping in and doing this show. We last week we went combined 5-1, and then we were 0-1 in the parlay. You know, our goal every week is to come in 7-0 combined. We got 6-0 with the game bets, and then 1-0 in the parlay. Can we actually do that as we're looking back? Can we actually? I think we can. You got the Man City over, the under, okay, and then the Nottingham Forest double chance. It's possible. It's possible. So we could go 7-0 this week. If I will say, if you go 7-0, you'll be on our next show, and then we won't bring Chris back until you get an incorrect bet. How's that?
That sounds like a plan. Yeah, if we run the table here, I think we just you can't mess with a winning lineup. So we'll have to give Chris the boot for one more week.
Yeah, but rotowire.com/soccer trial, free 10-day trial. I've been on this cheat sheet that has all 10 games throughout the show. You can get this cheat sheet and more cheat sheets and a lot of other stuff like stats. But AJ, you can find him at AJ Scholz 24 on Twitter. I am at Zdroik. Thanks for joining me, AJ, and we'll see everyone, I don't know, later. We got a lot of games coming up in October, so we'll see everyone at some point, somewhere, somehow, talking about something, but we'll be here.